Welcome. Scott here. I will be covering on the upcoming event, which is our first Shinryu level 6 warrior quest, Area 1 in Global. Firstly, let me give you a quick overview on the 6 warriors quest. You can bring a party of 6 members for the quest. Each member can be equipped with their own call. For every turn, you can do a member swap. To swap a member, you need to click on the swap button. You can only bring one summon and allow use one burst. No friend support will be allowed. Abilities that revive the party will affect both parties. The boss HP bar will have thresholds indicators. If you see the target icon is flashing with a red border, it means that the boss is going to do a HP attack. For those who have a full built-up roster, this is an event that you will enjoy a lot, and the fun bringing a bigger party and have everyone utilize their strengths. Put a team of various utilities and this will help you in this fight. This also applies to future 6 warrior fights as well. Unlike Dimensions and Transcendence or Entropy, there will be no character lock. So you don't need to worry about locking out the character for future 6 warrior quests. Let's proceed with the boss guide proper. The featured units that are synergy for the event are Kam'lanaut from Final Fantasy XI, Kimahri from Final Fantasy X, Cater from Final Fantasy Type 0 along Final Fantasy IV trio of Paladin Cecil, Palom and Rosa. The event will mark the debut of Kam'lanaut's FR and BT. Kam'lanaut, Kimahri, Paladin Cecil, and Palom will be getting their C90 awakenings and rework. Kam'lanaut and Paladin Cecil's BT will be realizable. All featured characters will be getting their force enhancements unlocked. For the event, we will be fighting 2 bosses, Dimensional Raging Tortoise and the Dimensional Kérasléōn, which has 75 million HP each. The Raging Tortoise will change its defenses depending on the stance that it is undertaking. The Kérasléōn will changes its texture color as the force gauge build up. The turn requirement is 105 and the HP requirements is 20,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. As we are no longer have Vanilla Plus fights, the boss guide will be focused primarily on Shinryu fights. In Shinryu, you need to understand the effects gained by the boss as the force gauge build up, its force ability and its force time effect. As your party has low force levels at the start of the era, it is highly certain that the boss force gauge will build up faster than yours. To have a better understanding on the basics of the force gauge mechanics and Shinryu fights, I have done a video explaining the mechanics. I have included the link to the video under the comments and video description for your quick reference. For this fight, the boss force gauge is broken into 2 thresholds. When the boss gauge is more or equal to 20%, the boss party gains additional attack boost of 100%. The Kérasléōn will use Howl, where it changes its hair texture from blue to yellow. When the boss gauge is more or equal to 80%, the boss party gains additional attack boost of 200% and they will become immune to delay. The Kérasléōn will use Howl again, where it changes its hair texture from yellow to red. The boss force gauge will build up faster as its HP is lowered. You can refer to the table on the screen for the percentages. At the 100% threshold, the Kérasléōn will use its force ability, Sneeze, and activates its force time for 6 turns. The boss force ability, Sneeze, is a guaranteed hit, reset break status, double AoE Brave plus HP attack. It will ignore all Brave damage nullification effects. Upon using the force ability, the boss will enter into its force time, where the gauge will start to emit a red hue with counter of 6 on its gauge. When the force time is activated, the party will raise their Brave and HP damage caps up to 100%. During the force time, the Kérasléōn will use Thunderbolt Plus, where it will dispel all the target's buffs, followed by a guaranteed hit single target Brave plus HP. To freeze the enemy's force time, you need to use a melee force ability, which is only Kam'lanaut's FR ability at the moment. If you don't have Kam'lanaut's FR, you can wait for -FR, which is coming on the following banner. If you trigger the force time where the Kérasléōn is already dead, there will be no force ability triggered, and the Raging Tortoise will enter into force time on its own. Once the force time is over, Kérasléōn hair texture will revert back to blue. Now let's proceed with some party setup recommendations. Recommended calls abilities. To ensure that you are able to constantly break them, it is important to inflict defense down debuffs. Example of calls abilities that inflict defense down calls are Ferris, Titus, Jack, and Vanille. To speed up the fight, using HP damage up debuff calls like Kérasléōn, Seymour, Fran, Ignis, Lily-Set, Maria, and Dark Knight Cecil are useful. Although a bit trickier to use, aura-type HP damage up calls like Kimahri, Alisai, Priyash, Leo and Locke are also viable. Most recently C90 units have aura-type HP damage up bonuses. You can use Dissidia DB Call Finder to find out more. The fight requires you to deal ice elemental damage to remove the red aura when the tortoise is in retreat mode. You can bring Kérasléōn, Cater or Snow LDCA call for ice enchant. Both Cater and Snow calls offers ice enchant for the caller. The fight features a lot of HP attacks. Bring Brave Control utility is the way to go. You can consider Cater or Setzer call to freeze the Brave gains. You can bring Arsila to prevent Brave gains with her LD or disable the boss attacks with her HP silence. Next, I will be covering units that will be useful to handle the fight mechanics. For any endgame fights like Lufania and Shinryu, it is always recommended to bring supports for their aura and buffs. You can consider bringing Selphie, Lena, Ishtala, Yuna, Garnet, Purim, Rem, and Ramza. Both Selphie, Lena, and Yuna are great for this fight for their debuff evasion and cleansing utility as well. Selphie can make your party hit hard with her guaranteed launch debuff, while Lena can ensure your party is always safe with her powerful HP regen buffs. Bring a support that have strong HP regen and burst healing is important for this fight. As mentioned earlier, the fight features a lot of HP attacks. Tanks and damage mitigators are great options heal to minimize the damage taken by your party. You can consider bringing one of the following options: Orin, Beatrix, Snow, Leela, Edge, Redia, Celis, and Golov. Counter damage mitigators like Beatrix, Orin, and Golov are great options for this fight. Celis offers party-wide ice enchant and healing off her traps. At the start of the fight, the Raging Tortoise will enter into retreat while concurrently activating Guttural Bellow, which will allow it to gain a red aura. If you didn't dispel it with an ice attack, it will unleash Ground Shaker Plus, which is an AoE Brave plus HP attack with buff wipe capabilities. To avoid that, you need to bring ice elemental units. You can consider bringing Kam'lanaut, Cater, Palom, Celis, Kérasléōn, Papalymo and Onion Knight. Celis, Kérasléōn, and Onion Knight can offer ice enchant to the party. Snow also offers party-wide ice enchant, and you can bring him for the fight to abuse his powerful BT aura effect. The fight has lots of troublesome mechanics. I list down 6 additional units which I personally think that they will make the fight a lot easier. You can bring Quistis for her force delays to bypass the boss resistance to delay. Delays will enable you to set up your turn's order and launches better. If you don't have Cater, you can bring Setzer to freeze their Brave gains, or have Sephiroth set their Brave to 1 with his BT aura. Galbez can also prevent the boss from gaining too much Brave as well. You can bring the Queen of Disable, Agrias, for her Fated Moly or guaranteed paralysis by using her AA and S2 combo. Arsila and Kefka can prevent the boss acting with their HP silence. Arsila can also prevent Brave gains with her LD. She is usable with her 35 CP only if you intend to swap her in for her HP silence debuffs. The fight is designed to showcase the strengths of the featured FR unit in Kam'lanaut. When Kam'lanaut's force ability is activated, you can abuse his damage bonus by dealing any form of ice elemental attacks. When fully geared, he can offer a turn disable debuff with his BT aura or guaranteed paralysis with his S1+. He can also shut down magic attacks hard with his debuffs. If you act while the boss is in disable status, you can uptick the orb by 20%. If you do full party launch, you can uptick the orb by 60% for 20% each per character. In this era, units with their force enhancement will offer additional advantage for the fight, as they will gain bonuses from force time or when the force gauge is at least 80%. They will also gain bonuses to help the charging of your own force gauge, which means you can gain access to your force time earlier. If you are using Kain, just get into your own burst phase and abuse his powerful follow-up. Fulfilling his force conditions of dealing a full party launch or dealing ranged damage will enhance the damage bonuses during his force time. Kryl's FR is also great, as she can offers a devastating nuke strategy alternative with her spamming her S1 with Kain follow-up attacks during her force time. Her paralysis is very useful here in negating boss turns. Braska can also employ the similar form of strategy, but you will bring Fire Enchant Call to take advantage of that. To build up your force gauge, consider bring a force gauge charger. Pernello, Ignis, Kryl, and Braska offers good option for the fight. If you have their force level max, they can supercharge the force gauge fast and give you big damage bonuses boost. Instant turn ability or high turn rate ability that does not do HP damage is a premium utility for force gauge charging. Pernello can provide powerful HP regens and provide big burst healing with her EX. Ignis and Braska will work wonders here with their other form of support utility like debuff evasion and burst healing. You can bring other units whose have their force enhancements unlocked for the fight. Kater and Palom can offer decent supply of ice elemental attacks. Palom can delay with his rebreak and Kater can freeze the brave gain with her framed freeze debuffs. You can also bring Strago for his gravity shaving and ignore defense damage utility. Paladin Cecil and Rosa can offer a lot of powerful auras for the party. Kater, Prompto and Kimahri evasion utility can be useful to evade the boss attacks. Kais can supply endless launches with his hero support buff, which complement wells for those who don't have self-it. Now let's proceed with the boss mechanics proper. Similar to any Lufania fights, for SHINRYU fights, the boss will also gain stats boosts and brave gain reduction auras when you deplete the boss's HP to a certain threshold. However, SHINRYU bosses will also gain HP damage reduction auras as well. The threshold's trigger for this fight is at the start of the fight and the 79% HP threshold. At the start of the fight, it will boost its defense stats by 200%. It will raise its brave damage and brave gain reduction auras to 70%. It will also reduce your HP damage dealt by 50%. At 79% HP threshold, it will further boost its defense stats to 200% and the HP damage dealt reduction auras to 80%. The fight will still feature 70% brave damage and brave gain reduction auras. To handle the defense stats boost, you can inflict defense down calls. To handle the brave gain reductions, you can bring a brave gain up support like Agrias, Ram, or Quistis. With the recent units released, you shouldn't have any problem in handling the brave gain or damage reduction auras. For HP damage reduction auras, HP damage up calls will only partly offset against the reductions. However, you can easily overwrite them with your party force time. As we progress through the era, we will gain access to units with FR that allows you to build up your force time HP damage bonuses up to 999%. Learning on how to take full advantage of the damage window in SHINRYU fight holds the key on how to make SHINRYU fights easier. There aren't any HP thresholds trigger to look out other than force gauge activation for this fight. You can tell by the color of the hair texture of the lion on which level of the force gauge bonuses that the bosses are having. First of all, let's focus on the Raging Tortoise boss. It will activate Guttural Bellow, where it will gain a red aura with 100% max brave gain. It will immediately enter into retreat mode. While in retreat mode, the boss will become weak against elemental attacks whilst resisting non-elemental damage. It will also frame its turn, where it gains the following properties: immunity to delay, include breaks, instant breaks, and turn deletion. This followed by a prompt that says you need to deal ice elemental damage to defuse the red aura or you will face serious consequences. On the following turn, the boss will exit retreat mode and uses Ground Shaker if the red aura is diffused. Ground Shaker is an AoE Brave plus HP attack. If you didn't defuse the red aura, it will use Ground Shaker plus, which will result the boss dispel all party buffs, followed up with a guaranteed hit AoE Brave plus HP attack. This will most likely be an instant party wipe attack. Once the boss is in normal mode or standing mode, it will switch its resistances. It will strongly resist any form of elemental attacks, while non-elemental attacks will do normal damage. It will also deactivate the red aura and remove frame turns effect from its retreat mode. Here is a flowchart of the order of attacks that result the tortoise changing its stance. Upon using Ground Shaker to exit from its retreat mode, it will follow up with Water Burst, a single brave attack on its following turn. On the next turn, it will use Death Knell, a single target brave plus HP attack. On the next turn, it will activate Guttural Bellow, where it will activate the red aura and enters into retreat mode. Deal Ice Elemental attack to remove the red aura and it will repeat the cycle. Make use of the 6 Warrior Quest mode to switch party members at any time to your advantage. When the boss is in retreat mode, bring elemental units. When the boss is in stand mode, bring non-elemental units. If you bring non-elemental units while the boss is in retreat mode, you can make use of Enchant and Imperil to bypass the elemental resistance. If you bring elemental units against the tortoise while it is in normal standing mode, you can still do damage with Brave Gains and Battery past those resistances. Other than you can't delay or delete the turtle turns, you can reduce the danger by nullifying its Brave Gains or disable its turn with HP Silence, Paralysis, or Confusion. Turn Disable option is very useful in keeping the boss locked to the stance that favors your party. Now let's focus on the new enemy type for the fight, the Kérasléōn. Generally, the boss don't have any difficult mechanics to handle. Its basic attacks are the Thunderbolt, a single Thunder Elemental Brave attack, along with the Bear Claw, a single target Brave attack that delays the target's turn by 1. As the force time builds up, it will change its hair texture color. It will start off with blue. When the force gauge is filled to 20%, it will use Howl and changes its hair texture to yellow. When the force gauge is filled to 80%, it will use Howl again and changes its texture to red. When force time is over, the Kérasléōn's hair texture will revert back to blue. When the force time is max, it will use the force ability Sneeze, which is a guaranteed hit double AoE Brave plus HP attack. It will enter into force time for 6 turns, where the boss party will gain Brave and HP damage cap bonuses. When force time is activated, this is where the Kérasléōn becomes annoying to handle. It will use Thunderbolt plus, which is a buff dispel, guaranteed hit single Brave plus HP attack. When unguarded, it is an KO attack for sure, thanks to the aura buffs that boss gains when it is using these attacks. You can tank the hit with freeze debuff, but the unit loses all his or her buffs. You probably will need to use the turns rebuild the buffs for that affected unit. The more effective way is to delay the lion as far as possible or negate its turn with a turn disable utility of Paralysis, HP Silence, or Confusion. Lots of JP runs feature boss no turns because of the troublesome force time mechanics that the Kérasléōn brings. I have come to the last slide of the guide. We are in the early Shinryu era. There is a high possibility that you might not get access to the powerful force time mechanics if you didn't get any FR to date. By now, you should have at least one of the 4 FR that has been released. With your FR weapon, you can just simply build up your force gauge. Every action taken will build up the gauge. The pace of the gauge build up will depends a lot on your party force level. The higher the force level, the faster the gauge will build. It is highly unlikely that the charging of your force gauge will be faster than the boss force gauge, so you will be bound to seeing the boss force mechanics. The strategy with FR is quite simple, just build up your gauge. Once it is fully charged, use force ability to activate your party force time. Abuse force time mechanics by deploying units that help to fulfill force time conditions. 1. If your charger is at a high force level, you can abuse it with them spamming instant turn skills while cane firing lancets at the bosses. Pernello, Kryle, Braska, and Ignis are good FR charger options. 2. If you are using cane FR, you can gain big bonuses if you score a full party launch. Units that can launch and delay will help a lot. One of the key conditions for cane FR is dealing ranged damage. Off-turn damage will also help to boost the damage bonus. Pairing units that deal off-turn like Sasnii, Freya, or Noctis will help to amplify the build-up of HP damage bonuses. Pair them with a turn hogger like Titus and Tira, or you can use your FR charger like Kryle, Ignis, Braska, and Pernello to spam their non-attacking instant turn skills to abuse the damage bonus. Other than the key concepts on building FR gauge, here is some key points you need to consider for the fight. 1. You need to bring an ice elemental unit to defuse the red aura from the tortoise gains from Guttural Bellow. Because if you don't do that, once it uses Ground Shaker Plus, it will be an instant party wipe for you. 2. To handle the boss force time and the troublesome Kérasléōn Thunderbolt Plus, it is highly recommended to bring a turn disable utility unit for the fight. For paralysis or confusion, you can bring Kam'lanaut, Agrias, Cloud, or Kryle. For HP silence, you bring either Kefka or Arsila. 3. To abuse Kam'lanaut powerful FR, you can bring launch auxiliary supports like Selfie or Kais. 4. To space out your turns, you can force delay the boss with Quistis. Do keep in mind that the tortoise will switch its elemental weakness depending on the stance that it is in. In retreat mode it is weak against elemental attacks and strongly resist non-elemental attacks. In normal or standing mode, it is weak against non-elemental attacks while strong resistance elemental attacks. The effect of the enemy force time can be nullified with brave control debuffs like Cater Freeze debuff or Setzer's Freeze Joker. Controlling their brave holds the key to withstand their attacks. Here is a quick overview on the FR of the featured unit, Kam'lanaut. Firstly, Kam'lanaut is a unit that needs full investment. Without his BT, he is just an average ice damage unit. Most of the turn disable debuffs will last on one turn. The debuff will be dispelled once the boss turn passed. To constantly ensure that the boss is in turn disabled status, Kam'lanaut BT aura will make it easier. Generally, Kam'lanaut is an ice damage elemental unit. He can offer guaranteed paralysis on his S1+. To get his S1+, you need to use S2+ or after using his LD. You can access it upon breaking the target or have Kam'lanaut attack a broken target. He has 100% gravity shaving with his Brave+++, which will result a free or instant turn upon breaking the target. His EX offers an AoE delay. His LD allows him to access its powerful aura and reduces any magic attacks from enemies by 40%. It also inflicts the Addle debuff, which will further reduce the boss magic attack by another 30%. Don't get Kam'lanaut broken or he will lose his powerful aura and you need to waste turns to re-establish his buffs. His BT aura, which lasts for 6 turns, offers a unique debuff that prevents the debuff target from acting and warps the next ally turn to active turn. You can easily reapply this debuff as long any party member takes their turn to attack the boss. You can get 20% HP damage bonus by dealing ice elemental damage. For this condition, you can just bring ice elemental units or bring a party ice enchanter. His second condition is that you can uptick by 20% per ally attack on a turn disabled target. If you do a full party launch, you can easily achieve a 60% HP damage bonus per launch attack. Due to the ease of building HP damage bonus for the gauge, Kam'lanaut FR is one of the best early FR that you can get in the game. Generally you need to have a fully geared Kam'lanaut, Ice Enchant or Ice units along with guaranteed launches to abuse his powerful FR effect. With this, I have come to the end of the boss guide. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please do give the video a like. Please do subscribe to my channel for future similar content. Good luck for the fight tomorrow. Bye.